What do you say to managers who feel that mentoring is a touchy-feely role that HR should handle? And let me preface that. In a division in IBM where I worked years ago, we had a president of that division who was all about the numbers. He was a former accountant, he was an attorney, he had never sold, and he pushed people to the breaking point and was really not too worried about how they reacted to his pressure. And as a result, he had a lot of people who were filled with anxiety and stress. They made their numbers, but it was not a very nice place to work. Give me your thoughts on that.
A general that treats his troops like cannon fodder. You need to understand what motivates people. I talked earlier about 3 things that are important, and I'll repeat those. It's a good boss, a good job, and some remuneration to go along with that. If that boss is not a good person in terms of the way that he manages and mentors his team, then you've broken one of those 3 elements. People will stay for the other 2, but you've only got to have one of the other 2 go wrong and they will leave. So under those circumstances, people need to understand the role of a manager is more than just checking the numbers, managing the process. It is about developing the people. People are at work for an awful long part of their lives, each of their working days, but also their whole working life. We need to make that experience a better one for them, because happier troops tend to make a more successful army. You've only got to look at 1 or 2 different generals over history to understand you can be a successful general treating your people like cannon fodder, or you can be a successful general who treats his troops with some concern. Both can get results, but I know who are more popular amongst their people moving forwards and who developed better leaders to follow them. Quite often the dictator that charged his people into the cannons, there was nobody to replace him when he was gone. There was a power vacuum. Whereas the good leader, the one that developed his people and worked for them as well as with them, is one that would have had a number of people that could have filled his shoes once he'd gone.
I've heard it said that a good manager is always looking to develop his replacement. Any comments?
I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think sometimes it's difficult to find that replacement, and also not to make it too obvious or too quick. You don't want to make it seem like you want to move on too quickly yourself. But you do need to make sure that if that call comes from above, that you've got the new role somewhere else in the organisation, that you're quick to be able to identify to the management team who you feel in your team could step into your shoes. And there should have been somebody, or maybe more than one person, that you could identify as having the key elements, the key attributes that should be able to move into that role at some point. But understand that is always fraught with a bit of danger. The point being that if you're grooming somebody to be management and they don't get that opportunity with your organisation, they may look for it somewhere else.
Give us an example of a rep who you mentored and who went on to be a top gun, a great salesperson.
Let me tell you about Adam. I inherited Adam as part of a sales team where I took over some years ago. He was a bright, young, enthusiastic guy who's technically very competent, but he needed some polishing on his sales skills. I took the opportunity to spend time with Adam and talk about the deals that we were working on, going out with him in the field, face to face with clients, and then spending time afterwards in the car or over a coffee or whatever was necessary to be able to talk him through what had happened in some of those sales meetings. As a result of that process, Adam got better and better. After some successful time with us, he came to me and said that he wanted to go and work for somebody who was a competitor for one of our suppliers. This was a tough decision. Now was a time when we could lose a really good sales guy and he would actually be against our business in somebody else's business. I took the opportunity, therefore, to go to our existing supplier, the one he would be competing against, and ask them if they had a role for a really good sales guy. They said that if that guy could meet certain criteria, they would certainly make an opportunity or an opening for him. And Adam took up a position with that company. And so we gained again, because now we had an ally in our supplier who was a good sales guy, a guy that we trusted, a guy that knew us. And he went on to be even more successful with them and still bring success to our organisation. So you have to be thinking about people's careers, understanding that people want to move on and develop, but always looking for your own interests as well. How can you leverage both things against the middle?